I'm beautiful and lovely gamers. My name is Jonal. Hope you guys are having a lovely, lovely summer and getting enough water because it's hot as fuck. I don't understand how anybody survives. I saw like a thread from like Arizona or something like, oh, people think it's so hot. Have you guys ever been to Arizona? It's so hot here. You guys don't know what you're talking about. It's like, if you have to use Arizona as the standard, are we really talking about the same thing? At the same time, I'm kind of finding it morbid funny because it's kind of like, oh yeah, every scientist has been like, global warming, and then we're like, yeah, we know we're gonna get global warming, and then we're like, what? It's warm? What is this? I didn't sign up for it. It's kind of like, it's kind of a little bit funny, but it's super hot. So I hope you guys are getting enough water and staying hydrated so you don't take any, faint or anything like that. It's kind of bad. I've heard. Not a doctor though. Now, let's talk about Sigma. You can Sigma balls, all the good stuff. Please no demonetize YouTube. Thank you very much. He's a very fun character. He's a high skill stealing tank. He's like, he moves around. He has all kinds of stuff. A lot of micromanagement. He requires aim. He's like everything that we ever asked for. He's really, really, really fun. Here comes the problem though. While I can see this guy kind of working in solo queue to a certain extent, from the competitive aspect, I have a lot of questions about his design. And it might just be just like Sombra that was like, yeah, we didn't really see the fitting, and then they buffed her and changed a little bit, and oh, now we see how broken Sombra is. And it took time to learn Sombra, and it took time to learn other team composition and so on. But most stuff like Orisa and Sombra, which were like two of the difficult heroes for a lot of people to pick up, and for teams to actually integrate, they had to get a bunch of buffs before they became more and more and more competitive viable. And right now, Sigma feels a little bit same. While he is fun, he does 60 per bull on a directed, which means 120 combo. He has a rock, which has a 10-second cooldown, which is 80 damage, okay? And knocks people down, which means it's a CC. But it has the cast time of fucking, 10 fucking games. Like, it takes an ages to fucking charge it. Like, you need to apply to Blizzard, a match beforehand if you want to use that ability, because it needs to fucking get allowed by Jeff or something. Balls have very slow fire rate and very short range, and it doesn't really do like that much. It's like the damage output compared to other tanks like Orisa, for example, like spam wise isn't the same, right? Not even close. His suck, which is kind of like a Diva Matrix, just a little bit worse, has a 15-second cooldown. You can max get up to 400 shield, I believe, meaning you can max get 800 health with the guy. But it's fine, like, that's like a decent builder, but you cannot cancel it though, which again triggers me a little bit. You cannot cancel it, and 15-second cooldown, which is quite a lot. His ult is really, really strong, right? You hover around, you're probably gonna get... You hover really slow there around, so you're gonna get headshot the fuck out if you don't use shields, especially in high elo, so you're gonna get slapped and all kinds of stuff. But it's a general good ultimate. Like, you lift people up, you take half their HP, and then you slam it down, right? Really, really good. And he's really fun to play. And I love him, and I think that most people love him. Tell me if you like him or not. I like to play him. But he's so slow, so clunky, no mobility. I cannot see in what world he's good on a competitive level. And it might be me that doesn't understand it, because like these are the couple of things I can see him going for. One, use him as a form of like split tank. So you have, for example, a bunker here, and then you have Sigma up here. And then Sigma can put his own shield, which has 1500 health, here, and he can work from here. And then you can get healed and so on, and if you try to dive him, you can get help from your team. And then you can kind of use him to spam, because then he's in range, and he can like apply pressure, and he's a tank with shield, and he can absorb damage to get shield. And he has his own kind of movable little barrier that he can use. He has a stun, so it can be difficult to dive and so on. And so on. If you want to use a rock, you can, allow yourself to use it, even though it's slow. It's super telegraphic, but even though it's slow to charge, right, where normally you get punished, you can drop a shield in front of you, charge the rock, throw it, and desummon the shield immediately. You can do that. And there's like a combo to work around the slow cast so you don't get punished. But the facts are still, it's super predictable. You see it coming 10 years, and it flies really slowly. His left clicks are fine spam, but tanks can normally push through that. And again, if you look at the three common team composition that we're playing right now. Death Ball, which kind of sucks, bunker and dive in 2-2. That's like, a bunker and dive is like the most common things that will be played in 2-2 meta, most likely. You will probably see some Death Ball, but not hell a lot of it. You play Sigma. Okay, let's run him as an off tank first. In Death Ball, yeah. Okay, so you don't have a Saria. You'll have to burn a shield then to kind of like try to shield your Ryan. And that can kind of work probably for some rotations, but then they actually push the Ryan with their own Death Ball or whatever they do, and Sigma doesn't really do a lot. Like they dive, your backline, okay, he doesn't really do a lot. And Death Ball kind of hits the same against Bunker and so on. So like the Bunker and dive outcomes doesn't really change. The Death Ball will know the dive will probably just run around Sigma and Ryan anyway, like they do against Zarya and Ryan, right? And the Zarya there's no Zarya anymore, so you can at least not bubble someone. There's not even that option anymore, and there's no Graviton wins. And Bunker will still shred through you and just like wear you down. And if you try to push the Orisa, she will still fortify and just deal with that. You play him in Bunker. You meet another Bunker. They have Hog Cold Combo, which is busted as fuck. They have more damage and will win the shield war every single round because they have a Hog compared to you, right? If you play Bunker like this against Dive, you still would want the hold hook combo, or you would play with a Diva to use some high ground control and deny that. You play that against Death Ball, and you will start lacking damage, and the hold hook combo is just too strong. Or the mobility that you can take an off angle, a high ground, or an angle with your Diva. The mobility and the flexibility of a Diva player is lost with Sigma, which doesn't have any fucking mobility. So that doesn't work. And if you play with Dive, the Monk is gonna feed. Because I zoom my berry after him, and then what, right? I can't really do a lot if he takes a high ground, because I can't do that. I have to rotate through stairs, right? So that's not gonna work. So my question is, in what team composition does it work? If he's a main tank, you're playing with a Zarya, they play dive, they play around you. And his Zarya is useless. And both of those will get zoned very easily, because his shield is not very big, and therefore it's very easily punished. And he has to summon and desummon and summon and desummon, and there's gaps in between those pushes. So, and he doesn't have the health or armor at all like a Ryan, and he can't brawl like a Ryan. And you can't get range against any team compositions. You play him with a Diva. That can kind of work. Again, similar to an Orisa. You play two different angles, and you work for two different angles. That can kind of be a viable way of playing him. The same that I would like to, if you're going to run him in a bunker, like on Hollywood first point defense here. You play a Orisa bunker here, you play Sigma up here. And then Sigma tries to like stay here and like area deny on spam and be irritating. And he has to self-sustain with his shield, and he gets help from the team, and he has his own little movable barrier, and he can stun someone, and he can deal some damage, and spam down on them, and build an ulti, and then use his ultimate. That can kind of work, but at the same time, you have other heroes that can do very similar stuff. I think that that's like one of the viable ways of running him, especially if they are running a bunker on attack, or death ball on attack, or even a dive on attack, because at this point you have like actually quite a lot of it can be difficult to dislodge this guy because he has already got the high ground. Problem is, of course, on later stages, you will most likely lose high ground control. On like second stage with houses, if they play dive, death ball will most likely be able to push very heavily into you, and I don't think that you'll be able to dislodge the bunker unless you get to high ground control, where at that point, because your supports are not a high ground control and can heal you and support you, you can easily be zoned off by a DPS and getting pushed off by a DPS or another tank, as most tanks will most likely be able to deal easily with Sigma as long as they get in a decent range. You can do, as I said, similar things with Diva, where the Sigma plays one and the Diva tries to off-angle for him. But again, at that point, why don't you play Dive, and why are you not playing Bunker instead? But if you want to play like a Bunker combo where you're locked down in area, why don't play Bunker, right? With the risk that action fill that role and has range to play Bunker. And if you want to play it like a Dive, then why don't you just play Dive? And if you want to push like a Death Ball, why don't you just push like a Death Ball? I don't see really why you would play any other combination of that. Some people have talked about Hammond, maybe that he's an off-tank of Hammond, but Hammond is like super fast and heavy engage, and you want to capitalize on his stunts and so on. And while, yes, again, I can see, for example, using the Death Ball to deny one part of the choke and him another part of the choke, and then there's slams, and there's like spam, and there's a shield that off-angles into different positions consistently, and so on. Therefore, you have this like huge like area denial with the Hammond and the Sigma, and then there's like this huge area denial on a choke point. So the enemy team is struggling to pushing through, and the Hammer will have opportunity to slam, and the Sigma would just continuously deal damage and be irritating and provide some protection for your backline. While that again can work, you start just questioning, why don't you play the Hammond with anyone else? Like, why don't you play with a Diva? Or why don't you play with a Winston? That can deal a lot of the same thing, just he has a more physical presence and actually they engage here. Why don't you do anything like that? And the same, you play this with a Hog, and you'll get outdone by a Bunker, or you will get pushed in by a Devil because there's no hold Hog combo, or you'll get played around by a dive combo that can take high ground faster than you guys can, right? So if you put him into any 2-2-2 tank, if you put him in triple tank, I could see some strategies. If you gave me, again, as a coach, unlimited heroes, and I could just pick whatever I want and how many I wanted of them, right? I can have triple tank or quad tank or 6 tanks. I can have 6 DPSs or 6 support. If I can pick as many from each role as I want, I can mix something together. That, oh, where here Sigma kind of feels something, and he gets like a special twist on Ghost. But because it's to lock, I don't see how this breaks the mold because he's so slow. Like, he won't be able to keep pressure up, and he's so short range compared to others that he's not really for bunker, and he's not really offering the protection and the physical presence of death wall, and he doesn't really have the ability to follow up on the dive. If you gave him some mobility, so he could, for example, hover up to high ground, all of a sudden he's so much better. If you just give him some mobility, so he can easily get up to high ground, maybe like a quick, like, almost like a Kassadin or like a set where you kind of like you vroom vroom and then you teleport between those two, like zoom zoom, like you kind of teleport yourself to like an area, almost like a Reaper teleport, just way faster, like a blink, like zoom zoom, and then you're there, like you immediately go there to high ground with a long cooldown. That could be interesting. Then he would have high ground control and have some mobility and could like use him to take space and like deny space with his AoE damage. And if you give him a little bit faster fire rate, a little bit more range on his balls, or some more splash damage, or maybe faster fire rate on the rock, then you would start seeing him being more like, okay, yeah, you can use him to like take an area and area denial and play like this very off-tank role where he can deny certain spaces, almost like a dive that's more range, like almost like a ranged bunker, like a dive bunker, where he moves around a lot and like denies areas with splash damage. That could be interesting to see. But right now, in the current stage that he's in, because he's so clunky and slow, and most hero combinations work great around him, while I will see really good Sigma players on the ladder that will be able to maximize his kit and play against solo queue, even in high healers. I can already expect seeing really good Sigma players that knows his kit out in and out, has the being able to micromanage all his resources, get value out of all his resources, and play him correctly with accuracy to follow up. That would be super, super great. But from a competitive standpoint, and from like a ladder standpoint, I don't see why you would play him over so many other heroes right now, unless he gets a buff or some form that allows him for more mobility or more fire rate and so on, so he's not as clunky. But that's my personal opinion. I would like to hear yours down in the comments, because this is the discussion. Also, Discord server and Twitter and Twitch, all the link in the description. And if you want to improve and get way better over the summer, rank up and so on, maybe get on a team, you can hire me as your private coach. It's 50 euros for a 2-hour session. So just hit me up on our Discord server and we can set something up. I might be in Germany when you send a message, so if I don't respond, I will respond immediately when I get back home from Germany, as my phone will be most likely out of battery, as I will be in an area without electricity, or I won't be able to just take it because I'm doing stuff. Believe it or not, I'm actually being outside. I know it's a shocker, but as always, guys, it's really hot. It's summer, so please take care of yourself and drink enough water. I love you guys very much. Please take care of yourselves and positive. As always, my name is Jonal, and you guys keep the enemy in your crosshair.